The story is about a feared blacksmith whose reclusive life is disturbed by an orphan girl upon accidentally releasing the demon he captured. The movie begins in the year 1835 during the First Carlist War in Araba, Basque Country. Three rebels await their execution upon being caught transporting a mysterious object. As the priest gives them their final rites, the lieutenant stops him before he gets to the third man. With the signal of the lieutenant, the firing squad shoots them mercilessly. However, the third man stands unharmed and suddenly attacks the soldiers, swiftly overpowering them. The priest is shocked as he catches a glimpse of the devil from the smoke. Moments later, the priest emerges from the smoke appearing very disturbed but abruptly falls to the ground as the man stabs him. The man appears rugged and dangerous thus, the lieutenant tries to escape him. Unfortunately, the rugged man catches up to him and quickly finishes him with a hammer. 8 years later, an investigator, Alfredo Ortiz, arrives in a small town in Araba. At the bar, Faustino tries to sell a broken chain to the bar owner, Santi, claiming it's a famous relic. Ortiz enters the bar and asks to rent a room, mentioning that he needs to talk to their blacksmith. Faustino warns Ortiz that the blacksmith is dangerous, but Ortiz insists that he must meet with him regarding confidential matters. Later that day, Ortiz arrives at a wooden gate full of crosses and spikes. He peers through the fence and sees more crosses littered on the other side. Beyond the gate is the house of the blacksmith, Francisco Paxi, the rebel from 8 years ago. He sees him hammering down a sword until his hammer breaks. Out of anger, Paxi slams his fist on the hot metal. During the mass, Benito pulls out a letter he had stolen from Ortiz's bag, but Santi takes it and reads the letter. Upon reading it, his face is filled with shock. Meanwhile, a young girl with a scar, Yusu, makes a picnic for her and her doll. She then spits out the wine in disgust that she had taken from the church. A snake suddenly crawls onto her picnic mat. However, she calmly picks it up and brings it to sit with them. Then out of nowhere, Benito and his friends strike the snake, claiming that they saved her. This saddens Yusu as she considers the snake her friend. They then make fun of her by stealing her doll. Yusu fights back and punches him, which upsets Benito thus. He tears the doll's head off and throws it inside Paxi's territory. As the boys leave her behind, they see Paxi in the woods and hide as they share terrible rumors of Paxi killing his wife and eating children. They then throw rocks at him, which hits Paxi thus the boys start to run. Paxi throws back the rock, hitting Benito and capturing him, but he manages to escape. At the town, Benito's mother Anna finds him with a bloody nose, so he lies that he slipped while looking for Yusu. Shortly after, Yusu arrives with her clothes stained with wine. Blanca, her guardian, and Mateo scold her for stealing the church's wine, telling her that she'll end up in hell. At the bar, Santi shows his friends the letter from Ortiz, and they learn that he is searching for gold. Suddenly, Ortiz grabs the letter and threatens to report them. To make amends, Santi offers a room to him without charge, but instead, Ortiz requests their assistance in meeting Paxi. Miguel and the others agree to help in exchange for clearing their debt. Then, Faustino shares rumors about the 12 pounds of gold that never reached its destination. Ortiz theorizes that the gold is in Paxi's possession, but Faustino notes how Paxi lost his mind after his wife killed herself. He adds that people hear screams from his house at night, believing it's either his wife's ghost or the devil. The next day, Ortiz stays behind and orders Miguel, Lucas, and Nestor to search Paxi's place. With weapons ready, they cautiously scan the area. Miguel knocks on the house and demands that Paxi open the door. Paxi yells for them to leave, but Miguel threatens to enter by force. Paxi finally opens the door, but Lucas accidentally steps on a bear trap. Paxi knocks Miguel down and faces Nestor, who swings an axe at him. Paxi hits his arm with a hammer, knocking him down. Miguel and Nestor run away, leaving Lucas behind. Paxi then releases Lucas and tells him to leave. However, the man trips again and gets his head caught in another bear trap. Meanwhile, Yushu heads to Paxi's gate and leaves her doll outside. She promises to get her head back and wanders around inside but runs when she sees Paxi coming out. She hides under a bridge where Paxi drags Lucas' body. He searches for his spade, which is right next to her, thus she hides in a cave. Yushu follows the path and ends up in a forge. She hears movements from a locked door, thus she peers through its window and finds a cage inside. She then sees a boy who begs her for help. Outside, Paxi resets the bear traps and finds the doll's head. The boy tells Yusu that the key is in Paxi's belt, but she's too scared to get it. Moments later, Paxi enters and peers through the door. He then falls asleep after ensuring his captive is still inside. Finally, the boy convinces Yusu to get the keys. Thus, she silently grabs the keys from Paxi and releases the boy. After that, she watches as the boy grabs a pitchfork and transforms into a demon, hovering over Paxi. Paxi wakes up and swings his hammer, causing the devil to drop the pitchfork and disappear. He then feeds the fire within the chamber to light the place and sees Yusu running away. Suddenly, the devil attacks him from behind. Yushu breaks her ankle as she flees and tries to look for another way out. Fortunately, Paxi is able to stab the devil with a cross-iron rod, and the devil runs away in pain. Soon after, the devil holds Yushu hostage. When Patsy tries to attack, the demon pulls a shelf that falls on top of him. She cries in fear as the devil drags her outside and vows revenge against the blacksmith. However, the devil gets caught in a beer trap, and Yusu accidentally hits her head on a boulder. As the devil struggles to get out of the trap, Paxi strikes the demon's horn to silence him. Outside, Benito discovers Yusu's doll and sees Paxi carrying her. That night, Santi tends to Miguel and Nestor's injuries. Suddenly, Benito arrives and announces that Paxi took Yusu and says he saw the devil there. Ortiz then urges the men to save Yusu. Meanwhile, Yusu wakes up inside her room and limps to the door. She watches as the devil threatens Paxi, but he torments him with a crucifix. The devil dares Paxi to do what he wants because Paxi will soon die and fulfill the pact he made. Paxi declares the pact is over, but the devil tries to manipulate him by blaming him for pushing his wife into another man's arms. After that, Paxi goes to Yusu's room and gives her the doll's head. He then wraps her broken ankle with her scarf, which Yusu says is her mother's. Paxi then takes her to the devil and reveals that its name is Sartell. It proceeds to insult Paxi by saying that his wife sends greetings from hell, and he responds by threatening him with the iron rod. Yusu also reprimands him for lying by prodding him with an iron rod as Paxi did. Paxi then forces it to count the chickpeas as it can't help itself but count them. Next, Paxi shows Yusu the blessed bell and torments Sartell by ringing it. Yusu plays with the bell and sees Sartell helpless against it. Sartell then spouts curses at humans, especially at Paxi, who doesn't feel guilt despite causing pain to others, including his wife. Paxi turns and tells Yusu to leave. Before she leaves, Yusu apologizes to Sartell for hurting him. She asks if he's seen her mother, noting that she hanged herself after giving birth to her. Sartell confirms that she's likely in hell. Yusu asks if there's a way to get her out. Sartell laughs and tells her there's no escape from hell. Suddenly, Paxi bangs the cage with his hammer, knocking Sartell out. He then reassures Yusu that Sartell always lies and takes her back home. Upon exiting the gate, they find the villagers marching toward them. Mateo demands Paxi release Yusu, thus he lets her go. Blanca holds her and asks what Paxi did to her, but she assures them that she's fine. Miguel then accuses Paxi of murdering Lucas despite Paxi's claim that it was an accident. The men then corner and attack him. Yusu yells for them to stop while Paxi begs mercy from Mateo, but he advises him not to resist as the men tie him up. Ortiz then announces that he'll search Paxi's house, but Santi notes that he can't do it alone, so he urges the others to follow. While the villagers head inside, Mateo reveals that Paxi brought Yusu as a baby to the church, along with the church bell he made. Paxi confesses that after returning from the war, he found his wife with a baby that wasn't his. The wife, Mate, thought Paxi had died in the war, thus she took a new lover who got her pregnant. Out of anger, Paxi held the baby over the fire, resulting in Yusu's scar. Mate's lover arrived to stop Paxi, but Paxi killed him, thus Mate hanged herself in despair. After that, Ortiz orders the men to bring Patsy inside the house. Upon searching further into the house, Miguel finds Sartell in his cage. The men are shocked to see the devil himself as Mateo rejoices in the proof that heaven and hell exist. Ortiz then orders the others to wait outside, but Mateo argues that this is now a church matter. However, Miguel strikes him and forces Santi to leave with him. Outside, Mateo and Santi inform the people of the devil inside. Mateo worries that Ortiz might release the demon, thus Santi tells the men to storm inside. As they do, Blanca realizes that Yusu is missing. Inside, Ortiz orders Miguel and Nestor to leave the demon and tie up Paxi. They interrogate Paxi about the gold, but he merely groans. Sartell laughs as he watches him getting beaten. Ortiz then walks towards the devil, unaware that Yusu has slipped back inside. Sartell offers to tell him where the gold is for his freedom, but Ortiz scoffs. Sartell looks closer and recognizes Ortiz as Alastor, his superior. Sartell thinks Alastor will save him, but Alastor claims he came for Paxi's soul. He adds that Sartell has been demoted for his negligence. He chastises Sartell for violating their rules by showing his true appearance to humans and interfering in their lives. Sartell begs for a chance to fix things, but Alastor stresses that the decision can't be undone. He then turns to the men beating up Paxi, finding humor that they follow his orders without knowing who he is. Satisfied with the situation, he orders the men to hang Paxi. When Miguel argues that Paxi hasn't revealed where the gold is yet, Alastor raises his voice, revealing his demonic eyes. Out of fear, Miguel and Nestor comply. Unable to open the door, the villagers attempt to burn the place and the devil. Finally, Sarkal notices Yusu, thus he offers to save Paxi and look after her mother in hell if she frees him. Sarkal instructs her to ring the bell while it distracts Alastor and the men. Yushu grabs the bell just as the fire spreads inside. She then rings the bell, harming both demons. The pain forces Alastor to show his true face, thus Miguel and Nestor drop Paxi and shoot Alastor in the head. The villagers finally open the door as Yushu unties an unconscious Patsy and then releases Sartale. Mateo arrives just as Sartale escapes. Sartale then apologizes to Yushu because he doesn't intend to return to hell, then runs away. The villagers are shaken upon seeing the devil, but when it gets caught in a bear trap again, the people attack him. Yushu runs into Mateo's arms, but he slaps her for releasing Sartale. Realizing she will never be accepted, Yushu walks to Alastor and asks him to take her to her mother. Alastor asks if she's sure, asking for her soul in exchange. Yushu shakes his hand, which seals the deal. He then transforms into his demonic form, and Yushu finally shows fear. He stabs Yushu with a pitchfork just as Paxi wakes up. Paxi carries Yushu's body as Mateo explains that Alastor took her to hell. Out of desperation, Paxi demands Sartale to take him to hell to save Yushu, but he refuses. Paxi reminds him that he'd still be in his cage if not for her, thus Sartale owes Yushu. It agrees to take Paxi, however, he can't go there with just his small bell. To help Paxi, Mateo lends him the church bell. Faustino recognizes the emblem on the bell as the Carlist's gold, realizing it was at the church all along. Miguel then tells Santi it's their chance for gold, but he simply punches him. Paxi then releases Sartale, smiling as he stabs him. When Paxi opens his eyes, he finds himself surrounded by the other condemned souls as the demons force them towards the burning gates of hell. Paxi walks to the gate, carrying a heavy sack. He spots Yushu among the crowd and embraces her, but the demons surround them. Paxi instructs Yushu to find Sartale while he fends off the demons. Suddenly, Alastor arrives and scares the other demons away. He then orders Paxi to enter the gates, but Paxi pulls out a jar and tells him to count. However, when he drops the jar, it doesn't break, thus Alastor kicks it away. Just when he is about to stab him, Yushu opens the jar and throws the chickpeas at Alastor, forcing him to count them. With Alastor distracted, the gates of hell begin to close. Paxi approaches Yushu and sees Sartale covering its eyes to avoid counting the chickpeas. Paxi then instructs Sartale to take her back to the living while he stays. Sartale warns him that more demons will arrive. However, Paxi is determined to find mate. As she is about to leave, she watches Paxi unveil the church bell and strikes it. After that, Yushu wakes up in Blanca's arms. Sarkal appears and tells the villagers that Yushu is a saint and isn't wanted in hell. He then bids them goodbye and leaves. The villagers gather around Yushu, and Benito approaches her with her fixed doll in his hands. In the woods, Sartale transforms into a young man. He collapses in front of a carriage, and the coachman gives him a ride. The coachman then asks him to tell a story, thus Sartale begins the tale of the blacksmith. The movie ends with Paxi forcing the gates of hell open and fearlessly entering while carrying the church bell.